Hello students, today we shall be taking up the explanation of the chapter The Third Level. This has been taken from Vistas, which is a supplementary reader in English for class 12 core course. So let us begin. So Jack Finney, the author of Third Level, was an American. His best known works are science fiction and thrillers, which also includes The Body Snatcher and Time and Again. The Third Level is a book, children, which consists of extraordinary short stories. Now, a few things which you must know before delving deep into the Third Level about Jack Finney. He basically was a science fiction writer, all right, and his best known works are, you can say, The Body Snatchers and Time and Again. Body Snatchers, in fact, has been made into a movie also. And this particular story, The Third Level, it is a short story which has been taken from The Third Level, which is a book that consists of extraordinary short stories. So the genre is sci-fi, that's science fiction, scientific fantasy. We can very comfortably say that the Third Level chapter, if you are asked in the exam the genre, about the genre, it is a scientific fantasy. So as I mentioned earlier, that the Third Level explores the science fiction of time travel. And about Jack Finney, one thing which you must know is that he is famous for intertwining reality with dreams, or you can say reality with imagination or fantasy. And it is so confusing for the reader that it is difficult to decide what is reality and what is truth or imagination. So you will be confused between the truth and the imagination, between the reality and the fantasy. So happy reading, children. Let us start. The story starts with the mention of Grand Central Station in New York. So this is the image of a Grand Central Station. So since the Grand Central Station is going to be the central point of our story, let us see that this is a view of the balcony in Grand Central Station, which was taken between 1913 and 30. And at present, if you talk of the Apple store is located here. So in the story, you will come across Grand Central Railway Station, and the narrator describes it as a labyrinth. He says that the Grand Central Station with its intricate pathways symbolizes the labyrinth that the world is. The network of passages is complicated, and one keeps on moving up and down one's entire life to look for entries and exits. So these are a few important lines, and you must read them again and again so that it is drilled into your heads. All right, a quick warm-up session before we start the story. Have you ever had any curious experience which others find hard to believe? In my live classrooms, yes, we did this and we had a wonderful session. So, however, now you will have to do it all by yourselves. So just do this before you go on, before you start reading the chapter, The Third Level. So there aren't many characters in the story. Charlie, he is a 31-year-old man who lives in New York. He's fond of stamp collecting also. That's his hobby, stamp collection. Louisa is his wife. Sam is Charlie's friend who is a psychiatrist. And we have a small reference to Charlie's grandfather also. So author just mentions him once, and the reader is told that Charlie's stamp collection was started by none other than his grandfather. Now these notes are going to be really helpful for all of you. So what does the third level refer to? Literally as well as metaphorically. Literally, children, this refers to the subway of the Grand Central Railway Station, Grand Central Station that takes passengers to Galesburg, Illinois. And metaphorically, it refers to a medium of escape for the protagonist, that is Charlie, of the story to escape from the harsh realities of life. The third level gave an opportunity to him to go to Galesburg, Illinois in 1894, which due to some reason was peaceful according to him. Alright, so I am hoping that all of you have already read the story, and I am just going to simplify the story for you. Some children tell me that yes, it is a complicated and it is a confusing lesson. No, it is not. So I am just here to simplify everything for you. Now let us see. The story starts with with the statement: the presidents of the New York Central and New York New Haven and Hartford railroads will swear on a stack of timetables that there are only two. Now, when the author says there are only two, we obviously know he is talking of the levels. Now, you see, children, there are when you go up, all right, you are talking of the stairs, but when you are going down towards the basement, okay, there are levels. So everyone knows, and everyone knows because this is the reality, that the Grand Central Station of New York has only, I repeat, only two levels. And the narrator says that I say that there are three. Now, please try and understand something. This is very, very simple to understand. For instance, there is something at your door which you can see, and when you tell your mom, "Hey mom, what is there?" Mom says, "Nothing, beta. There's nothing over there." Now then, what is the conclusion of this? You are seeing something which your mother is not able to see. So what are you doing? Are you hallucinating? Or is there a reality which you only can go to, which you only can see, which only your subconscious sees? So what is it? Anyways, whatever it is, what will be the next step that your mom will do? The next step would be that your mom is going to take you to a therapist, to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist. All right. So this is exactly what happens. And then the author also says that I obviously took the next step. When I am the only one who has seen the third level, I have to take the obvious step, and the next obvious step would be that I would go and see a psychiatrist. Now, when Charlie says that I went to the psychiatrist, the psychiatrist says that it is a waking dream wish fulfillment. So, waking dream wish fulfillment, what is waking dream wish fulfillment? So, it means that it is an experience which, Sam is the psychiatrist. He tells Charlie that this phrase, this is an experience you have while you are awake that feels similar to dreaming. So, basically, Sam wants to say that going to the third level for Charlie is like a dream come true. He stresses upon the upon the ease, like in such a simple way, so easily. So he stresses upon the ease with which Charlie lived his dream, and according to him, everyone has a strong urge to pause the restlessness that prevails in their lives. So according to him, Charlie wants to escape the reality. Charlie is not happy. Charlie is, trying to escape from the so-called stressful life of his. So, and when he says that I was unhappy, obviously, if you tell your wife that, my psychiatrist tells me that I am unhappy, what will be her reaction? Her reaction would be not very good, all right? So that made that made Charlie's wife kind of mad. But then he explained that he meant the modern world. Please, this is, children, I am still on page 1, and this is the first paragraph that is going on. So the rest of it in that I just want to escape, and then Charlie says, who doesn't want to escape? Everybody I know wants to escape, but they don't wander down into any third level at Grand Central Station. All right. So again, so he is basically confused that I have gone to the third level, and later on in the story, you will really see that he gives such vivid explanations, in such an elaborate, detailed, clear manner. He describes each and everything in the third level that you will be, at once you will be thinking, all right, Charlie went there. Yes, the third level does exist. So let us see then what happens. And then the psychiatrist says, he gives one more example, that he says that Charlie, your stamp collection is also a temporary refuge from reality. Refuge is what? When you are taking shelter into, when you are taking shelter. So he says, in order to escape your reality, you are taking a temporary refuge in your stamp collection. So then Charlie gets a little annoyed, and he says, I don't think so, because my grandfather, who was there in Galesburg, Illinois, in the year 1894, he was the one who started this stamp collection. And at that time, there was no stress in the life, there was no hustle and bustle, and life was comfortable. There were no world wars, there were no civil wars, and so he did not have any stress. He was the one who started stamp collection. So how can this be a temporary refuge from reality? Why would he do that? And then he gives one more explanation. He says that President Roosevelt also collected stamps. So do you mean that he also wants to, escape reality? So here, when we are talking of stamp collection, you should know what is the collection and study of postage stamps called. You should know about a first day cover. What's a first day cover? It is an envelope which, it's an envelope bearing a stamp or set of stamps postmarked on their day of issue. Okay, so this is what till now that we have done. Now Charlie is going to explain he's going to narrate the whole incident as to what happened that day. Now from here onwards, I'm not reading line wise, children, that part you should do. So I am just quickly explaining things in a very simple manner. So this is what happened at Grand Central that day. Charlie says that one night last summer, when I was working late at the office, I was in a hurry and I wanted to reach home faster. So instead of taking the bus, I decided to take the subway. Now, I don't know why this should have happened to me, he says. I am just an ordinary guy named Charlie, and this is the first time where he introduces himself. All right. And I was wearing a tan gabardine suit and a straw hat with a fancy band. So just, a bit of explanation for you. So gabardine is a smooth, durable cotton cloth, and this is a long, loose upper garment which was worn particularly by Jews. Okay. And then he turned into Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue. So this is one picture which was taken in 1990, and it is an outside view of the terminal from Vanderbilt Avenue and 42nd Street. This is where children Charlie entered the station in the story. Now let us see what is happening next. So he walked down another flight to the second level where the suburban trains leave from, ducked into an arched. Arched refers to a curved or a symmetrical structure, you can say. It looks something like this. This is a view of one of the many arched corridors in Grand Central Station, which was taken in 1912. So Charlie walked down one of these corridors on his way to the third level. Now, he even says that sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like roots. There's probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about, feeling its way under the city right now on its way to Times Square and maybe another to Central Park. And maybe because for so many people through the years, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape. Maybe that's how the tunnel I got into, but I never told my psychiatrist friend about my idea. So he thinks, that this is a way of escapism, but however, he does not admit it. The corridor I was in began angling. Please remember, this is the second paragraph on your page 3. This is very important. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downward, and I thought I was wrong. So in the first line itself, we can make out that yes, Charlie is, experiencing something different, something incorrect. But I kept on walking. All I could hear was the empty sound. Now, empty sound of his own footsteps he could hear. And he didn't pass a soul. Didn't pass a soul means he did not see anybody over there. So he is alone. Obviously, why would anybody be alone in a subway? A subway is supposed to be crowded. People are supposed to be rushing around for catching a train. But here he is all alone. And then he heard that sort of hollow roar ahead. That means open space and people talking. So, he was not insane, children. Okay. He was experiencing all this. And how can we say that he actually experienced this? According to me, the manner in which he describes each and everything, it is clear, distinct, vivid, and therefore we can very comfortably say yes, Charlie went to the third level. So you will just read this on your own. He is just explaining when he reached the third level what all did he see. There were brass spittoons on the floor. This is what a brass spittoon looks like. Across the station, a glint of light caught my eye. He saw a man who was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. Now, all these things are not used in modern day times. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch, and frowned. He wore a derby hat. So this is how the derby hat looks like. He wore a derby hat, a black 4-button suit with tiny lapels, and he had a big black handlebar mustache. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like 1890 something. Okay, so I never saw so many beards, and he here describes a lot of beards, types of beards. He talks of sideburns, he talks of fancy mustaches, he talks of a woman in a dress with leg of mutton sleeves and skirts to the top of her high button shoes. So you can see these are the mutton sleeves that dress looks, what does it look like? This is how it looks like, and these are her high button shoes. And he also caught a glimpse of a locomotive, a very small Currier and Ives locomotive, which had a funnel-shaped stack. So what is a locomotive? Basically, it refers to a powered railway vehicle which was used for pulling trains. And then he says, then I knew. Then I knew means that yes, I have time traveled. I have gone back in the past. Please underline this in your books also. This is page 4, first paragraph, last phrase. Then I knew. Underline this. Then I knew what? That time, I have time traveled and I have gone back in time. So obviously when you have traveled back in time, you want to be sure and you want to look for things which tells you that you have actually time traveled. And therefore Charlie, what did he do? Let's see. He wants to make sure, so he walked over to a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers, and there he saw the World. Now the World, children, he says that was not in publication anymore. And then he saw that I have found that front page since in the public library files, and it was printed 11 June 1894. So now he is all excited. He is so excited that he says that now, since I have reached 1894, I have reached the subway, I will take a train which takes me to Galesburg, Illinois. But obviously he would not like to go alone. So he approaches the clerk, he gives him the money, and he says that he would like to take 2 tickets for Illinois, Galesburg. Then let's see what happens. The clerk tells him, trying to skin me. Trying to skin me means that are you trying to annoy me? Are you trying to irritate me unnecessarily? Because the clerk is stunned and tells Charlie that he was not offering him any money. Now why? Because the clerk sees the modern day currency. Charlie doesn't have the old currency. You can see that on your left is the old currency and on your right is the modern currency. So the clerk threatens Charlie and says that he is trying to fool him. Now obviously Charlie is worried, and even in 1894 he says that I would not like to be imprisoned. So children, he leaves, and he left the way he came. And next day during lunch hour, I drew $300 out of the bank, nearly all that he had, and he brought old style currency. And he his $300 bought less than 200 in old style bills, but he was not bothered because he says that eggs were 13 cents a dozen in 1894. But children, it was so unfortunate that he did not find the Grand Central Railway Station again. Now these are some of the themes of the lesson, but before we discuss the theme, let us talk of the end. Now Charlie does not find the third level any other day. Now why do you think this happened? This is something which you should think of. Okay, and secondly, what happens to Sam? Now this is end is actually, the climax is quite interesting. After some time, his friend Sam, who was also a psychiatrist, is missing. So one night when Charlie was, fussing with his stamp collection, he found the first day cover. So what is the first day cover? I already explained it to you, and let us see what did he find in that. He found something. Let us see what did he say. The paper that he found in the first day cover, generally first day covers used to have, blank papers. But this was not blank, and it was from his friend Sam. And it said, Charlie, I got to wishing that you were right. Then I got to believing that you were right. And Charlie, it's true. I found the third level. I have been here 2 weeks, and right now down the street at the dailies, someone is playing a piano, and they are all out on the front porch singing, seeing Nellie home. And I'm invited over for lemonade. Come on back, Charlie and Louisa. Keep looking till you find the third level. It's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it. And the letter was dated July 18, 1894. And at the stamp and coin store I go to, I found that Sam bought $800 worth of old style currency. This is what Charlie found. And that ought to set him up in a nice little hay, feed and grain business. He always said that's what he really wished he could do. And he certainly can't go back to his old business, not in Galesburg, Illinois, because he was his psychiatrist. Now, the end is ironic. All right. The end is quite ironic because it was Charlie who wanted to escape to the past, to a time before the world wars. On the contrary, it is Sam, the narrator's psychiatric friend, who makes it back to Galesburg, Illinois in 1894. So Sam too craves for an escape from this 20th century. He was able to find the third level because, it is suggested that he wanted the escape so badly. So the irony is that Sam, the man who told Charlie that third level was a figment of his imagination, is the one who has gone into the past and enjoying the best it has to offer. The kind of idyllic life that Charlie wanted to live, Sam is living. A man of science, so Sam was a psychiatrist, so he was a man of science. He was a man of science who was certain that Charlie was just imagining the third level and was trying to escape from the harsh reality. He succumbed to the power of dreams and made good his own escape. So this is, in fact, I have just given you a very good answer. If it is asked, is the end ironic? How is the end ironic? Is there an irony in the end? This is what you can write. And fantasies of one point of time that seem illogical may turn out to be revolutionary. So things that change the future of the mankind. All right. So children, there is definitely an intersection of time and space in the story. Charlie reaches the third level. He travels back in time. Even though the place is the same, it appears to have a different setting. It is as if it was in 1894. So likewise, Sam also reaches Galesburg, not a modern one, but in 1894. Thus, he also transcends through space and time. So there is a question in your NCERT about the intersection of time and space in the story. So this is what you are going to write. All right. Waking dream wish fulfillment is important, that we have already discussed. So these are some of the themes which you can discuss in your answers. So it's an open-ended story. The story is left open-ended. We have already discussed it. Just in case you have any other queries, you can post it in my comment box. And I hope I was able to make it simple and easy for you to understand. Thank you for watching.